Whovians, and welcome to another episode of Earth Station Who. That's right, folks. We're back, and we are going back to the Big Finish, folks. And we are going to the Ninth Doctor era, and we have a return, the Doctor and Rose. That's right. And played by Christopher Eccleston and... Oh, shit. What's her... Oh, sorry. No, just kidding. Billy Piper. I'm kidding. I'm kidding. Actually, this is the era. This is actually the era of the Doctor and Rose that I love. So this is, and the chemistry just picks right up and everything. And we're going to have a ton of fun. So please, if you want to follow along, we have Snare and the last days of the Powell estate. So it should be a lot of fun. And this is going to be a new season of Doctor Who that they're doing for Big Finish. So this is just the first two parts. And I think they said late November, early December for the next one was for part 3. So right now we're early. You know, it's like us with news, folks. You know, as soon as we're done, they're going to release the next episode or something like that.
Of course.
So, of course. But we got a great crew to talk all about it. Returning back to the show, Ciarán Moffatt is back.
Hello there.
Good to see you, my friend.
Good to see you. It's always lovely being here.
Or I should say good morning to you. Because
yes, it's lovely. You can see the light shining through on my face, make me look really pale.
Even more pale than you actually are. So that's even better. That is awesome. We're in the deep darkness of winter up here, and here in the lovely thralls of summer. So it's a good thing.
Yeah, it's just the beginning. Lovely. The early notes of summer. Yeah, it's nice.
Yes, that's wonderful. That is wonderful. And we got our regulars here, of course. Let's say hi to Mary Ogle's back.
Hi, everybody. It is fantastic to be here, finally.
Yes. You know, kudos to Dave Chapman for sitting into it for you, but you can't beat the original. Mary is just so amazing. So it's great to have you back.
But I appreciate Dave for standing in.
Oh, you know, if he would have shaved off his beard, you know, it could have been twins, you know.
You really can't tell the difference.
Exactly. So it's kind of cool. We also are joined by Melanie Dean.
Hello, fellow Whovians. I cannot wait to chat a little bit of Big Finish Who with you.
Ooh, almost made it rhyme. Almost. And of course, last but never least in our hearts, Mr. Michael Gordon.
Howdy.
So we're going to talk all about this one. And if you haven't listened to it, please, you know, pick it up. It's not that expensive, and you could actually get it as part of a box set. And, you know, so when the next part comes out, it'll already be included in your package that you buy. And bigfinish.com is the best way to go find that. So we're going to be spoiling the heck out of this one. No real Doctor Who news. We still do not know when we are going to get the war between the land and the sea in the States yet. But luckily our friends over in the UK or people who have VPN, you know, basically will be able to watch it the first week of December. And we don't know if it's going to be daily. We don't know if it's going to be weekly. So
we do.
We do. They announced that.
They did announce it.
So first week, like on the Sunday, it's episodes 1 and 2. The following Sunday, it's episodes 3 and 4. And then the final Sunday, it's episode 5. And you could stream all together. And the same, they're bringing out an omnibus cut down edition of the Sea Devils to lead into it. So you can get the...
That's true.
So yeah.
You know, and it's funny because
sorry to take over there, Mike.
no, this is why we do the show this way. But it's interesting too because that's true because they announced that they are releasing the original Sea Devils storyline with Pertwee that as a 90-minute adventure. So it's going to be this year's 90-minute. They did War Games last year. The year before that, it was Daleks. So it's interesting to see. But they just put out the Pertwee box set with that not all that long ago with the same episodes on it on Blu-ray. So, but all you're going to do is they're going to cut it down. And if it's anything like how Mismatched War Games was, I'm kind of like frightened for it.
I mean, War Games was 10, 12 episodes.
Yes.
Sea Devils is 6. And also, there's quite a lot of just establishing shots of John Pert where you're getting a boat between an island and land. So that if they cut out all of that, they might actually just make it to 90 minutes.
That's true. That's right, Brigadier. Going like so yeah, if they cut all that out, it would be awesome. So yeah, so that'd be cool. And so that's also going to be shown the same day as the first episodes. And I've also heard, of course, it's going to be available on BBC and also on iPlayer. So you'll be able to get it both. So, we don't condone, using your VPN to set yourself as the UK, but, we're not, slapping wrists anymore. No, this is the 21st century. We don't do that anymore. All right, let's jump in with both feet now. And we are going to first touch on Snare, or should we just do these as both together? I think let's do Snare first because they're two different stories.
Let's do Snare. Yeah. They sort of tie in and vaguely.
Pretty loose, yeah.
Loosely.
Yeah, the second one only kind of referenced the first real quick, but then.
Right.
Yeah. But it's interesting because the first one, they reference right away that this takes place right after Father's Day. And a lot of times with Big Finish, they don't touch where in the different eras these stories take place with the different doctors and such. But they didn't hesitate. This popped right in. And so we get, it was a very traumatic experience for Rose. And the doctor, is still, basically PTSD doctor at this point. And, so he's, very, very much angry and at the world still and, trying to heal. But it's an interesting story. And it was nice. We got, like we mentioned Chris and we got Billy, but we also got Rose's mom. So, and everything.
Yeah,
and it
I
was
don't know why awesome. She doesn't. Sorry, I don't know why she doesn't get top billing with them. She's not on the cover. Like her name is not on the cover.
Yeah.
And she's in both stories and she's a main character and she does not get the same billing as Christopher Eccleston and Billy Piper. I don't get it.
Yeah, that's pretty bad actually.
Yeah, she's a big part of the episode.
Yeah, but now we know never eat her waffles. That's the way we got out of the story.
Or almost any of her cooking, apparently.
Yeah. So but it was awesome. It felt like I was back in 2005, watching Doctor Who, and it was really well done, and it was a fun story. We've had stories like this before, where a ship from another dimension is bleeding into our reality, and and this is basically what that story was. But it also touched on mental illness. It also touched on, family coping with, family members with issues. And it was just
daddy issues are big.
Major daddy issues, especially coming off of Father's Day.
Yeah.
So it was interesting. Let's get initial thoughts. Mary, since you were in here for a bit, what's your initial thoughts of the story?
I really enjoyed this story. I think I'm really going to enjoy this whole series. It is so much fun to have Christopher Eccleston and Billy Piper back. They are just so great together. The chemistry is wonderful. It's just like they never left the show. I really appreciated that. The side characters are good. Kevin's a good character. You have real empathy for him and his father once you figure out what's going on. And it's well written. It's tightly done. It's good direction. I enjoyed it.
Okay. Mel.
No, it's same thing as Mary. I mean, I really, really enjoyed this. It felt like I was just back in, like without them, they didn't miss a beat. And I felt as if this was just another story in I wish there was more than one season. Well, here it is. And the style of writing, it's a good story. It makes sense story within the season. And again, Camille Kadori is amazing. I love Jackie. I love Jackie Tyler so much, especially since she just starts sassing the doctor, and the doctor starts sassing her back. And as much as looking at the first season of Eccleston's Doctor and how, you know, everyone kind of is like, oh, he's grumpy, he's this. Those moments of him and the comedic part of him and Jackie going back and forth is just adorable. So I absolutely love this.
Mikey?
I wish I could say that.
Wow.
Yeah, this one was really hard for me to get into, and for some reason, I mean, I knew it was Chris, and I then found out it was Camille. But when I was first listening to it, they just didn't sound like it. Didn't rekindle the magic for me. I didn't feel it. I thought it was pretty. You know, the story was fine, but it really didn't have much to say, and it just was really, really weak in terms of, like, it could have been done in 15 minutes. It really didn't need it was like kind of back and forth a lot, and you know, there was a lot of excess to it. So I felt like it wasn't really a tightly done story. It just seemed like, you know, it was pretty rough actually for me. Now I will say, spoiler alert, the second one I had much better time with, and it really, really, everything clicked for me then, the voices and all that, and the characters and everything. But this first one was pretty rough for me.
Okay, gotcha. Ciarán, finish it up, my friend.
I mean, I'm going to have to disagree. So Billie Piper has said in interviews before, like, you know, when she came back for the Stolen Earth and things like that, or when she came back for the 50th anniversary, that she couldn't really remember how to play the role, which is why her characterization's a bit different in those two things. I mean, vastly different in the 50th anniversary. I listened to this, and like her voice comes in at the 30-second mark. She just comes around a door, and I was like, oh, she's done it. She has gone right back to Rose. Like, she's gone right back to season 1 Rose. And like, I'm so glad we have this, because Christopher Eccleston said he was not going to do any more Big Finish unless he was able to do it with Billie Piper. Like, he was sick of doing solo stories. He was only going to do it with Billie Piper. I really loved it. And I really like that the character in both of these, a character in both of these stories is the estate itself. Which, like, you know, a council estate in, you know, the UK is, or at least in London, has a very sort of personality about it, because it's low cost housing for, you know, the lower working classes. It has a distinct feel, a distinct griminess to it, and you know, you get this idea of you know, in Snare, of the man who has, you know, mental health issues that are not being dealt with, and he's living in this area for people who society tends to not deal with, and it sort of becomes a character in and of itself, just being on that estate. So I thought it was absolutely, and that was something that the TV series never really tried. She lived on a council estate. That was all we ever got. But now we're getting to see the realities of, you know, the bottom rung of society and how they live, and I thought it was just absolutely magnificent. I was ready to not like it, because I actually find Rose annoying. I find Rose as a character annoying, but I loved this.
I knew I liked you, my friend. Now it's interesting. I felt like I said earlier, I was back in 2005. It was like they jumped back right in, and I remember with Stolen Earth, when, you know, when she came back, it felt like the voice was off, that she didn't quite get, you know, that, you know, the voice, because I know after Billie left Doctor Who, she had her teeth worked on, and she, you know, basically, you know, then that changes how you talk and everything. But she had to basically wear false teeth for for Stolen Earth, and to match what it looked like back then, and then also to relearn how to talk like Rose Tyler. And it was real interesting. And even what threw me off a little bit even more was, I'm watching Wednesday season 2, and Billy Piper pops in there with an American accent. So it's even more interesting with that. Chris is just awesome as the Doctor. God, I wish we would have gotten another season or two out of him. It would have been amazing. And thank goodness we do have these Big Finish audios with it. And the chemistry between Billy and Chris is just amazing. Camille is awesome. I met her when she came to Hulanta, and she was as nice as can be. And it was, it was pretty awesome to like, oh, I know her. I met her. I actually sat and talked with her. But it was a neat experience, and it felt like, because it's even the Doctor's relationship with Jackie changed with the second season when Tennant came in, and more of not as adversarial, more like it was almost like a running joke at that point, like even in the final Doomsday and the Army of Ghosts, they were like, oh, this is Rose Tyler, but she aged on one of our missions, and she was, hey, watch it, type things. I love that kind of stuff. And you even got even more learning about Jackie when in, what was it, Love and Monsters, and with Elton, and so it was real interesting to see. Did I like the story? Yeah, I did. We've seen this story a zillion times. One of the things I did find interesting, though, is in both stories, the new characters who were tagging along with the Doctor and Rose both died, and that I found interesting. And but the young lady, I don't remember what her name was,
Marlene.
but Marlene, she was the posh one, and the photographer, and she was filming the estate for an art project, and it was like, oh, this is how the other half live type thing, what she was doing. And she didn't believe any of it was real either, because it was out of her wheelhouse. At least Kevin was able to, be open-minded to this thing, because, he had seen images of it from his dad, with the writings and everything. So it was super interesting. But when she got eaten by the flies, it was just like, ew, but oh well, so it was an interesting story. And I thought it was, it wasn't, anything new. They weren't treading any new ground in it, but it was fun. And that's what I wanted. And, I enjoyed it.
Yeah, I mean, plot-wise, it's very familiar, but I think what carries the story along for me, at least, is the characterization. There's so much good characterization here. And Kevin, to me, I find the dichotomy between him and Marlene really interesting, because Kevin is somebody who's grown up in an unstable environment and who's had to learn to cope with uncertainty. And so it's a little easier for him in a way to go along when he's faced with that, because he's been faced with that his entire life.
Mm-hmm.
He's been trying to live with an unstable parent his entire life. And Marlene's been much more sheltered. And so she just refuses to accept it at all. Even when it's right in front of her face, she can't cope with it. So she's just in such deep denial. And it's very interesting interaction between those two, and how they're dealing with the situation. And also seeing Jackie as the mama bear was just great. I love that.
Well, it was interesting. Marlene couldn't, she was didn't have her head wrapped around anything. And, she was Kevin's friend. And Kevin was like, she was accepting of me. She was, open to that. And she was my one true friend at the school. And she was the one.
She's not a bad person. She's just a scared person who's out of her depths. Yeah.
Exactly. But she walked right into the flies. And it was just like, it was like, oh, they're getting a little closer. There's more of them. And it's like, oh, she's gone.
Stop. Turn your flash
I went to
off.
art school.
Stop.
and I met so many Marlenes.
Oh, God, yes. I
they're well
understand.
meaning, but they're just you know it's like, oh, your father's an electrician. What does that mean? What do they do? You know, that sort of, they're totally disconnected from the real world.
Mhm.
No, exactly. They've been living off of mommy and daddy so long and everything. And it was interesting though, because, with Kevin's dad's insanity or, mental illness, um, I remember Rose was trying to figure if the ship was the cause of his mental illness. And then the doctor said, no, the ship's only been here for the last year or two. And, but, it's not, and she was like, oh, it's been way longer with that, with the father and everything. So,
Yeah, I'm glad they didn't try to gloss that over and
Yeah.
say,
no,
oh, yeah, it's
no.
some alien who's doing this. No, this happens in our world, and this is how people deal or don't deal with it.
Yeah, that's Chip
Exactly.
Foley's magnificent writing. And in sci-fi, we often try and find answers for the mundane that are, you know, supernatural or preternatural or whatever. And yeah, just going, no, this happened. I'm sorry, there's no reason for it. There's no excuse for it. Sometimes awful things happen and there's no reason. This was a man who knew and he didn't get it. And that's nothing to do with aliens.
Mhm.
No, exactly. No, exactly. You're completely right there. And it's interesting too, because we also get a mentally ill character in the second story with, Shut It. I think it was named Shut In Steve
Yeah,
and
Nervous Steve.
Nervous
Nervous
Steve.
Steve, Nervous Steve, and who was the shut in. And so it was interesting to see that, that they're talking a lot about mental illness in these stories. And I wonder if that's going to be also a running theme in the series too.
Well, that's the doctor's arc too, because he's suffering from PTSD the
True.
whole time through this series. And so I like that they're exploring mental health issues in other ways in support
Hmm.
of that and to show the different coping mechanisms and to say, hey, this happens in our world.
Hmm.
I get the feeling like with at least Nervous Steve that maybe he was just an introvert maybe. But his experience of getting to the elevator, letting him off on the fourth floor, that clearly was the fourth floor in the future.
Mhm.
And then somehow being able to get back, I think that was the straw that broke his back, and he was like, "Nope, not doing this again." I went up how um
Oh, well,
Brainy Betty
Yeah,
had
Brainy
said, "Yep."
Betty.
He went upstairs, he went back downstairs, the way that the path to the correct floor, and was like, "Nope, nope, done."
no, exactly. It was interesting that they touched on, I thought these stories were great. Some of the better Big Finish I think we've listened to for a while. And, I'd listened to them, while I was working and, they were quite entertaining. And there was times I saw myself stopping working and just listening and everything. And that's a sign of a good story to me. So, which is kind of cool. Don't tell my boss that he doesn't listen to the podcast. So I'm not worried about that one. So it's all good. But yeah, it's, it was enjoyable. Is there, do you think we'll see Kevin again in this series, or do you think he's just a one and done character?
I mean, you don't know. I mean, if the whole series is going to be based around the Powell estate, then there's a chance for these characters to reappear.
Mhm.
I will say that, I think one of the things that I'm disappointed with this series is that they seemingly are going to lock it down to one time, one small period of time, one location, and one cast of just the Dr. Rose and Jackie. And I sort of would like to see it. I hope that it gets a chance to do more, but I mean, 12 episodes of of things, things happening around the Powell estate could get kind of repetitive and old. So I kind of worry about that, but we'll see what happens. But I mean, you mentioned, Mike, before that it's like, oh well, we've never really seen Jackie travel in the TARDIS or whatever, and I'm like, yeah, we shouldn't, because that would break continuity. That would like really like mess things up as far as like things that happen in the future, right? Like, I mean, that when you tell stories like this, I mean, obviously, you can wave your continuity wand and all that, but it's just yeah, I just kind of worry that they would, that they're sort of locked into one thing for just maybe too long a time, but we'll see. Look, I like the story. Okay, I didn't hate it or anything, and there were moments where I felt like this was reminiscent of the original series. Um, I did find it interesting. You guys were talking about Billy and trying to get the voice of the character back. She in the interviews and the bonus stuff, she says that she admits that she had a hard time finding Rose Tyler's voice again, but it was only with working with Camille that really clicked for her in terms of the banter back and forth. And so look, I don't know what order they recorded them in, but if they did record them in the same order that we're listening to them in, then I do think that there's a vast improvement over from this story to the next one. Because the next one, like I said, I didn't feel alienated at all. I felt like it really felt like it was back in that era.
Okay,
So
that's fair. No, it's totally fair.
Yeah, and I get what you guys are saying about some of the other themes and everything that are going on, but like I said, to me, it didn't really seem like they were saying anything about. They were just using that. They weren't really saying anything about it, or I don't know. It just felt like it was just really something that they were putting in there, to like say, oh well, he's suffering from mental issues, but nothing. I mean, I'm not looking for explanations. But there was not even really a condemnation on how people were treating them. Like that's the one also thread about this too, is that the two people that we do have suffering from mental illness in these two stories, the rest of the community is not really like treating them sympathetically. And that kind of does have some repercussions, which we find, but I don't know if it's really explored as well as,
Oh,
not to me anyway.
well, you also only have like an hour and 15 minutes in this first story. And it's hard, you can't go in, well, we're going to set up a support group, or that they tried to get the father help and everything, and it would have been great if they said, well, we tried to help the father multiple times. But a lot of times in
I'm not
neighborhoods,
looking for that.
No,
that's not exactly what I'm looking for at all.
But it's interesting with that though. But it's also, it's how a lot of times society looks at people with mental issues.
Absolutely it is. And it should be. Yeah. But one person who shouldn't be doing that is the
doctor. No, I agree.
I did like how Jackie brings up though when Rose starts prying more about, hey, what was going on with him, because again, she was a child at the time, so she's not going to have the optics as an adult to see what's going on with the dad. So Jackie had said that he was the type that 1 minute or one day he was baking cakes, or he was doing some type of food thing where I think she said that he was making stuff for all the neighbors, and the next day he's ranting and raving on them.
Yep, or throwing the food at the neighbors.
Or throwing the food at them. So yeah. For him to want to make the food for him, he was still at least part of that community within the Powell estate, because why would he, that there was still some interactivity for him wanting to do something nice for somebody, even though then now he's throwing the food at them. He wasn't just, he unlike Nervous Steve, he wasn't a shut-in.
No. True. But it's interesting too, because, the way people grew up, in the 70s, 80s, and even into the 90s, mental illness, oh, we don't talk about that. We, that's over there type thing. And
still the case.
Oh, a lot of ways, yes. Very, very, very much so. And, I know that firsthand. And there's a lot of, I saw a lot of that in this story, and that's why, Jackie was Kevin's second mom, basically, like you said earlier, the mama bear syndrome. And, she, he was over with Rose all the time, and that type of thing. And it was tough. It really was tough, but I enjoyed it. One thing I was very happy to, how they wrote Mickey off just like that. Oh,
Yeah.
We're all
I mean,
relieved at that.
yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, if you're going to have a whole series happening right in that estate area, you're going to have to explain why he's not there, and nobody wants him there, of course. But
Yeah. Well, and it's interesting because when you were saying, limited with certain characters and such, you can't have Noel, and right after the storyline era is, basically the Doctor dances and the empty child. And that's when you get Jack, and you can't have Barrowman either, so,
No.
so,
Well, who was it who said Kevin come back? Because that's the thing. His story does kind of feel like it's ended, but if you're going to have another thing, like, you kind of need a Mickey substitute, right? You need someone to take the place that Mickey would play in these stories. But yeah,
and
no one wants them back.
No,
I don't know. Do you need a tin dog? Is that what you're saying?
Chameleon, I hear he's looking for work.
But maybe that's the role Kevin's going to play, is the role that Mickey would have been in. And
yeah,
probably
it did find it interesting that both these stories do have kind of a, I don't want to say Mickey fill-in, but it's a,
But it's a Mickey fill-in.
it's a young dude like that's filling in, that's taking that spot, which, I mean, that's par for the course. I get that. Like, you're always going to need someone to interact with the Doctor and the companion. So I hope it's just the two of them, really. I like Jackie fine, but I'm not sure I need her for every single adventure, So,
No.
So I think that, in fact, there were a lot of times in the regular series where it was just like, oh, they're going back to Jackie again. They're going back to, like, I think there was one of the criticisms, which I think was valid, was that they spent too much time at home, and Rose spent too much time at home. So I hope, I mean, it's on brand if they do that. But it just feels like I would like to see them kind of branch out and do bigger things.
Any final thoughts on this storyline before we go ahead and go on to the second one?
The only question I have too is that it was not really clear to me. Like, it seemed like it was kind of a weird sort of, like, so the soul snare, like, got the father's soul and is now embodied the father, or is it just a copy? Or, like, that's just not really, I think, very satisfying at all. And of course, Rose's reaction to it is, I know that she's just coming off the traumatic effects of losing her own father again, but it just, like, her insistence that they need to tell Kevin, and that they need to they need to bring the father, or save the father, or change the father, was kind of annoying. And typical Rose, though, to me. Like, that was the way she would behave before anyway. So I get that was on brand.
No, I think that was just implied, though. It was definitely projection that, if, like, for coming off of Father's Day, she wanted to meet him, she wanted to know what had happened and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, that's why she kept pushing it. But I think that's why the Doctor had to kind of let her know, what you're projecting on, this is not the same thing. Yes, it's a father child kind of deal, but this, it kind of helped guide her to learn this is not the same situation. And I really appreciated him guiding her to the understanding that this is the father's, or whatever's left of the father, that's the gardener's choice. This is their agency. This is what they're comfortable with. They know they weren't a good person for their child, and they want their child and hope that their child flourish, but this is, for them, their best outcome. So I really liked how they ended up finishing this, and that little addendum of the Doctor fiddling with that radio again so that the little gardener father dude could hear. that his kid, okay, good, he did do well. I didn't screw my kid up so far.
It's a nice
So
moment, but should we, so we take it to mean that that is really the father, like his soul was actually, taken and is now in inhabiting something else.
Yes.
Mhm.
I think so.
I think so. Yeah, I totally
Gotcha.
do. Okay.
I don't think that's explained. I think it's like River in the library.
Yeah.
Is that really River, or is
Yeah,
that a copy of River? And
Thank you. I was kind of,
and you don't know, but I'm not. I mean, I'm not sure it matters in the sense of the context of the story. I
I'm
mean,
not
it's
going to lose
still a
sleep over
father
it.
figure.
Yeah.
It's still representing the father, whether it is the father or not.
Yep. Exactly.
And it's still Rose projecting, she never got that closure with her father, so she wants to give it to Kevin, and that's understandable. She wants to live it through Kevin, and that's understandable, but I like Melanie was saying, that the doctor explains, no, you're not, you need to think about this in a different way. You're
Well,
taking
exactly.
away something from both of them.
Exactly. All right.
Hold on, let me. I have final thoughts.
Do tell us your final thoughts, sir.
So I think, again, I can't stress enough how big a character like the estate is. And I'm not sure if other countries have something like this. Like, I feel like I want to say, and this is such a reduction and it might make some people angry. I want to say that a council estate in London is like a trailer park stacked up. Like, if that's what you can imagine, right? Like,
Or
this is the
project.
place you go when you can't afford anywhere else. Like,
Yeah, that
it-
does exist in the US.
yeah.
Yeah.
So
Very
I,
similar
Oh, yeah.
things.
But
Oh, yeah.
but the thing I like about this story is this is a man with like mental health issues who finds freedom through gardening, something which he shouldn't be able to do, right? Like, and gardening is a wonderfully helpful thing. But the thing is, when you're in a little box like that, you can't, like, you can have some pot plants or something, but you can't grow a garden, something that really helps. And I think that's probably a not so subtle point by Tim Foley, being like, if you have something that, if you have greenery, if you're not trapped in on all sides, if you have space, then maybe you have the space to heal. And I think that's one of the really important points to take from the story, is that the garden, whether it is him or not, look, that's getting into the same argument as when they're transported in Star Trek, are they still the same people? Like, that's getting into
Yeah.
that argument. But
Oh, that's a rabbit hole we don't want to go down.
Yeah. Well, that's just it. It's a circular argument. It doesn't really matter in the context of the story.
exactly. But he finds peace in gardening, something which he shouldn't be able to do in that small place, something that wouldn't work there, which just shows that his mental health will only get worse in this situation. And it's, that is probably, I mean, I think maybe a little bit of a heavy point about socioeconomic unfairness and leaving people to rot, and also the benefits of gardening. Even though I have a black thumb, I kill every plant I touch, but I'm sure for some people it really, really helps them.
Mm-hmm.
Also, I will say there's also a point about how, that's a really good point, Karen. And there's also a point about how sometimes the best thing you can do is leave. Sometimes if a relationship is that unhealthy, staying is not helping anybody.
No.
Sometimes it has to be, okay, you're better off without me, and I'm better off without you. And that's just the way it has to be. And it doesn't mean we weren't important in each other's lives, but we just need to go on these other paths.
Absolutely.
Yep. All right. Thank you, guys. You want to let's go ahead
This
and
became a much deeper discussion than I
Yeah. Thank you for joining us here. NPR's Mental Talk. All right. Ratings. 1 out of 5 TARDISes, 1 being the worst, 5 being the best. All right, Mikey, since you had a lot of thoughts, I'm curious to see where you sit this one.
I'm just giving it a 3, just because it didn't. Yeah, it was a rough start for me, and it wasn't terrible, but it was just not what I was, I guess, hoping for or expecting, and it threw me off. So,
All right, fair enough. Mary.
I think I'm going to give it a 5. because I really enjoyed it, and I really enjoyed all the themes, and even I even enjoyed our discussion around it, whether we agree or not. It brought up a lot to talk about, which I think is a sign of a really good episode.
Excellent. I like that. No.
I'm gonna go with 4.5 because I really like the second one better. So it's like I know I shouldn't be judging this against the next one, but I'm like, this was really good. And then for me, the next one's really, really good. So I'm gonna go 4.5.
Okay. Ciarán?
It's so weird, like talking about how like we're rating this depending on like whether it relates to the next one or other Big Finish or just Doctor Who in general. I think the best compromise I can get is about a 4. I really, really, really enjoyed it, but as Big Finish goes, it's not going into my regular rotation of stories that I listen to all the time. Like, it's great Big Finish and it's great Doctor Who, but it's not the sort of thing that I think I would revisit. Like, it's a you know how there's some stories that you just, they're good, but you're like, I'm not going to sit down and watch that if I've got a spare 45 minutes. That's what it felt like to me.
Okay. Fair enough. I'm going to do a solid 4. I enjoyed it a lot. Loved the acting in this. It was really well done. But also, like what Ciarán said, I'm not too sure I'm going to listen to this one again. I listened to quite a few of the other ones. I've already recently listened to the Jamie ones that we just reviewed about a month ago or 2 months ago. And I loved that. And I've listened to a lot of the, River Song ones. Try to block out the theme, but I listened to the River Song ones. But I do, I did enjoy it. And I think it has some really good messages in it, especially, around the topic we've been talking about tonight here. And I'm glad they touched on it because it's a topic that does need to be talked about. And I'm glad Doctor Who is doing that and in some form or another. So bravo there. So yeah, 4. All right. Whew, we went a long time on that one, a lot longer than I thought we were going to go. So let's talk about The Last Days of the Powell Estate, Adventure 2. And it was interesting. I'll open it up to you guys first, get your initial thoughts before I start plotting my ideas. Mary, go ahead.
It was good.
Okay. Wow.
No, seriously. I mean, funnily, most of you guys are saying you like this one better, and I like the first one better. Something about the first one just got to me. I like this one. Don't get me wrong. I think it's another good story. Um, it's a little. I have this problem with Big Finish in that sometimes the transitions are really jumpy. They're not very smooth. And so all of a sudden you will switch scenes, switch to a different character, and you're like, what? And you pick it up, obviously, fairly quickly, but it's jarring and it takes you out of the story. And especially when they were like cutting back to Brainy, Betty, and Jackie, that happened a lot. And so that is my biggest criticism with it. But overall, I think it's a good story. I think it's an interesting use of the sort of haunted house trope, which is what's kind of going on here. And I also think it's hilarious that Dan Starkey is voicing Mr. Fingers.
I love that.
Yeah.
I thought that was awesome. So in other words, Mr. Fingers was really, really short.
You had to get your shoulder.
He's like tapping on your All right, Mikey, what were your initial thoughts on this one?
I like this one a lot. This one was everything that I was hoping for and more. I thought it was it's a haunted house, but it's a nice twist on it. Certainly, we've seen Doctor Who kind of tackle that before on the series, but I thought that this one actually did it really, really well. I mean, this is better than a lot of the other, fear type shows or ones that we've had before. Specifically like Fear Her. Like this, so this is like way better than that. I like I said, I thought that the chemistry between the Doctor and Rose and was better here. They just sounded better. They had like quips and everything back and forth, and they seemed like it was really, really humming. Jackie and Brainy Betty, can Big Finish give me a series with just those two? Like that was awesome. Brainy Betty is a wonderful addition to the cast. I hope we continue to see her. And I thought Mr. Fingers was creepy, and the whole sort of like don't turn around. I mean, certainly it's got that Moffat feel to it, which that's right in my wheelhouse. So I dug this one a lot, and I thought like it really worked for me very much so.
Cool. Mel.
This one, this one I really, really enjoyed. And to Mary's point, thankfully I didn't get so much of the whiplash because the characters were delineated and I kind of could follow that a little bit better. Because sometimes when they do those quick cuts, I'm very much like Mary, where I get whiplash and I cannot follow it. For some reason, I was able to follow this one. This one I was able to be keyed in on, which was good. Hence my rating's gonna be higher because I was able to do it on the first one. Second listening was even more brilliant. One other thing that I was very cognizant of, just add like from I don't know, for some reason I was listening to it and wanting to have that gotcha moment of we're going back and forth 20 years and we're going back 2005 or 2000 and then 2026 or what have you. And there was a couple times where we have Ellis and they've adjusted the language a little bit because it's future-ish. So he's an influencer, he's a content creator, he's all these words that we now know that there's things surrounding them. This was not even an inkling back in Rose's time. And I liked how they played with that when he was like, well, this is what I do, and blah, 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 blah. And she was kind of I'm sorry, you do what?
Exactly.
Huh?
Exactly.
Because this was before having the smartphone. She didn't have a smartphone. Because for me,
smartphones were at least another 2 years away.
Yep.
Yeah.
Because
they make a point of saying she didn't even have a speaker in her phone.
Yeah,
that's right.
No,
it's like,
the
hold
funny
on.
fact is, I have her phone. I had the same model Nokia as her, which I thought was amazing. Which I always kind of was waiting for them to say that. Fun fact: that phone was the first one on the market, or one of the very first ones on the market that had a flashlight. But yeah, it didn't have. And even then they said selfie at one point, but that was the doctor saying selfie, so I can give that a pass a little bit because he's a time traveler. Maybe he, but she doesn't. Again, she doesn't say that. The other piece to this that I really enjoyed was the sound design and the sound effects, because usually when a Big Finish does anything where they're going to modulate something where it's either underwater or there's that ringing or what have you, I can't listen to it. It throws me off.
Oh, that noise. Oh my God.
And I was able to still follow it. It made me unsettled. I got that I felt closed in, but sometimes when that closed in feeling, I can't hear the damn actors. I was still able to hear them. So I was just like, kudos, y'all. So,
okay.
Enough for me.
Ciarán, you're up.
So I was listening on speakers while I did some painting tonight. And I'm glad I was listening on speakers, because if I had been listening on headphones, like, yeah, I love soundscapes. Don't get me wrong. I love soundscapes. When they do the loud whiteout noise, just the screamy whiteout noise, if I'd been wearing headphones, I would have been screwed. And so I was just like, oh, I'm glad I listened to this one through the speaker. Look, for the story, I really enjoyed it. I enjoyed the kind of future for us, very future for her. Sort of thing. That's fun. I like that it's basically it feels like it's based on an M.R. James short story that no one's ever read.
That's it.
Yes.
It's like, I like this. So I was just like, this is a really good horror, weird fiction type thing. I'm really enjoying. I love Timothy X. Atack's writing anyway. He always comes up with just a really interesting way of looking at Doctor Who. The drone as a Chekhov's gun is a bit I remember thinking oh, of course that's the way that the drone is keyed to his DNA, and yeah, we'll get into that, I'm sure. But yeah, otherwise, I enjoyed the story. And look, the standout of the whole thing is Brainy Betty. Like, everyone wants to hear what Brainy Betty's going, which is this gorgeous old Jamaican woman who just rolls with everything. Like, just talking in this gorgeous patois the whole time, just, you know, takes everything in her stride. She's like, oh yeah, they're 35 in the years in the future. That's fine.
Yeah. I loved it. I totally loved it when she said, "Oh, I'm constantly reading, learning, because I want to be able to, when I go to heaven, to be able to tell." You know, and I love that. That line made the story for me. I loved everything else about that story. There was so much good about it, and like you guys were saying, for us, we knew a lot of what Ellis was talking about because we have the bloggers, we have the, you know, the little helicopter things, you know, and you know, going around, and it was interesting how it was bio synced to him and everything, and but we're used to it, you know, people, you know, the influencers now. God, we were at a park over the weekend, and there was this woman who had the camera like right in her face, and she was talking about it, just puzzling right through people, and she wasn't even paying attention. And it's so commonplace these days, you know, people posting, and she had the selfie stick, and it was just like, really, this is just, you know, this is normal life now, you know, type thing. And it's going to even be more so in the future. It's not going away. You know, you would like it to, but it's not. And, you know, and this is still 12 years in our future. And it was interesting to see. Again, I loved the Doctor and Rose. I thought Billy and Chris were awesome. Camille was great. And I did feel a little, there were a couple times going back and forth into the past and into the future, in the past. And of course, once again, Rose does not listen to the Doctor. Don't call your mother.
Yes, of course. Yes.
Yeah. And it's like,
yeah,
yeah,
they never
exactly.
do. That's the companion's job, to not listen to the Doctor.
We all knew she was going to do that immediately.
Of course she was.
She's not the only one that doesn't do that. But yeah.
And I love it. And I love
everyone does
it.
that.
Jackie was going, "What, Rose? I can't hear you. Speak up." And she's trying to,
I know. Rose is trying
Rule
to
number 984.
call her on the down low.
exactly. It was like,
Just
oh
want
my
to know
God.
how you are.
But it was interesting though, because when you had, you know, Mr. Fingers, you know, they were started talking about it, you know, feeling the long fingers on the back and everything. I started thinking it was the silence at first. And it was, you know, because you had the same kind of motif.
It's pretty similar, yeah.
Yeah. And if, you know, with the silence, if you see him and then turn away, you forget you saw them. So it was almost the same thing. So, you know, it was interesting with that. I'm glad they didn't go that route. I'm glad they had something unique. And I thought it was a good story. It actually, there were times it actually had me like sitting on the edge of my seat, not working. And again, God, I'm doing that much too often. And just, you know, listening and listening to my computer. Oh, nobody listens to our podcast. So nobody will know. So it's okay. And it's awesome though. But, you know, it was a great story. And I liked the introduction of the characters. It was, like I said earlier, the two new, you know, characters you got in both stories died, you know, were killed.
Well, Ellis is
Ellis, when they rewrote history. Yeah, because they rewrote history.
Is probably still alive. So we might see him again. Who knows? But yeah.
Right. If they go back to that era, sure. You know, and you know, as the Doctor said, he's probably off once again, climbing some tower and, you know, trying to look at some wreck, you know. It's like, but it was one thing it was interesting when the Doctor gave Rose the option to actually see the end of the Ellis estate in her reality. And to, you know, we could, you know, it'll only take 5 minutes for us, but we will, you know, we can sit there and watch history go by us. And it was just wow. that was pretty moving. And
Yeah, I like that. I like that scene a lot too, Mike, because I like the fact that it builds on, because when she at the end of the world, the episode, she watches her planet get destroyed, and that's no fun. Um, but here she even admits like this hits a lot closer, literally hits a lot closer to home because it is her home. And seeing her home just a few years, not this isn't like thousands and thousands and thousands of years in the future. This is like in her quote unquote in her lifetime that this is going to happen to her home. And yeah, not just her home, but everybody. Like, where is everybody that she loves? Like, where is everybody that she knows? Like, where is her mom? Like, so that it means it's a lot more personal for her. And yeah, the doctor's sort of response to that is like, well, if you want, I could just take you to it's like, I'm good. Like, I just like, no, I've seen enough. Thanks.
I got it.
Well, one of the
I
other
like that
things,
scene a lot.
one of the other things I noticed also, if time is out of whack here, Doctor, why aren't we seeing the wraiths and everything?
Because we'll never see them again.
Right. He just
Exactly.
waves that away. Which
He's like, oh
everyone
no.
wants
It's not that type of thing. Yes. So it was interesting there. But yeah, I enjoyed it. And again, we had, the people who, the shut-ins and the people who, and he was the first to fall. And he also he won't come back to won't be able to be brought back to life because of where everything fell in history. Yeah. And so that was really interesting and everything with that. And every time I get on an elevator and the door doesn't open, I am not going to try to pry that fucker open. No.
If I get a fourth floor hotel room, nope, you have to switch me.
I think there's something that speaks to the bigger picture, right? Like, because they've asked the question now twice, like, why is this happening here? Like, why is this happening here? And that's going to be, that's going to be the continuing thing with the Powell estate. It looks like, where the mystery is like, what's going on? It's probably like a hellmouth or something. Like it's always a hellmouth.
But it's interesting too, because they also had during that season the space station where they kept on going back to, and it was the same thing where they had it when they first went. It was the what was the giant space slug, and that's the Simon Pegg episode, and with the editor. And then they had then they went back to the same space station a couple hundreds of years later.
The first one is the end of the world, where it's by the Earth, and they witness the Earth dying, and then it's the news station, and then it's the
it's the game show.
Yeah, like the weakest link and
Big Brother, and and we got to see more of Captain Jack than we ever really wanted to. So, but yeah, it was interesting, and they're doing the same thing now with the Powell estate. At least, hopefully, they don't tie in Bad Wolf to this, at all.
Well, they did in the first one.
Yeah, yes, they mentioned Bad Wolf.
They mentioned the gardener thing mentions, it says the word wolf and stuff like that.
It said, yeah, I heard wolf, but it was like,
yeah. And when they were talking about the defacing of the property in the second one, I thought that they were going to say, Bad Wolf is written all over the place, and I was like, oh, but no, I guess Mr. Fingers covered that up.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Thank you, Mr. Fingers.
Although I really liked Brainy Betty and how she kept when she's explaining what was going on with the fourth floor and how the elevator won't open for it. As she's explaining it, go ahead now, Jackie. Go ahead and push the button again. Okay, now go ahead and push the button again. Because you could see the trepidation in Jackie. It just vocally her going, okay. Well, maybe I shouldn't, and it's like
Yeah, I
Brandy
think Brandy
Betty
Betty
knew
wanted
that
to
it's
see
not going to
it.
open, but just kind of I'm gonna have fun with the fact that I know that this will not happen. So, or what this all is. She's taking like
Exactly.
this enjoyment out of it, which I just thought was deliciously evil, but she was just doing that because she's doing it to her friend.
That's true. That is very, very true. It was interesting though. And, it was spooky as hell. And, it was just like creepy. And, I don't even want to think about somebody touching me on my shoulder. And it's like, and you can't look back. You can't look back. So that's the freaky part of it. I think for an audio adventure, I think they did a really good job for the psychological, part of it and having you all creeped out with it.
Yeah, well, there's a real play in both these episodes on the theme of abandonment too. It's not just mental health issues. It's like abandoned places are inherently creepy and disturbing, and that's what I mean. Ellis's whole thing is he explores abandoned places, and Jackie kind of feels abandoned by Rose, and Rose feels abandoned by her father, and Kevin does too. And it's very they're really touching on some interesting things in these episodes, and not just like, here we'll go back to Chibnall bashing again one more time.
Yes.
Yes, because Chibnall would bring these things up and not do anything with them. And this to me is a sign of what that writing should have been. They bring up these issues and they explore them, they walk around them, they walk inside them. They don't dismiss them. They acknowledge that real people feel these things. And so I'm a big fan of the writers for both of these episodes.
It's a great sequence where the Ninth Doctor, explains or not really faces, but sort of reveals his fear to Rose. Like, that's a moment that's huge that we never get on the show, but like on the actual live action series. But here it's so powerful that it's like, damn, this is, Russell missed a moment because this would have been nice to have, like, to see. But that's a really, really effective sequence there where Rose says, come on, Doctor, come on. What are you afraid of? What are you afraid of? And then he just explodes in a way that is memorable, I think, and worthy of this. If nothing else, this box set does, like that sequence alone is an amazing Doctor. Is one of Chris's best Doctor moments, I think.
It's interesting too, because when he's exploding, he's saying, it's been hundreds of years since this happened, but it feels like yesterday. And to him, it is like yesterday because he's a Time Lord, and, hundreds of years is like 2 weeks to us. And it's interesting. And, it's just trying to see how long he has been as the Ninth Doctor too. So,
I
go ahead.
have some headcanon that you might enjoy. I've always been of the belief that after the Time War, the Doctor basically went, so much has happened. I don't know how much time has passed. That's why he's just like, I'm 900. We're going for a round number. I'm 900. This is my age. We're starting from here. But just to pick up on the threads that you guys have put down I think obviously the writers they've been given a brief and they've been told to include certain themes. And I think with this, as the series goes on, we're going to get them laying down new things for their own, like, as you said, there's going to be a new sort of semi-big bad that they're heading towards, while also laying down the bad wolf stuff. But what Big Finish does brilliantly when they put in stuff, earlier in seasons, is they manage to recontextualize endings. Or even beginnings. I listened to a great Sixth Doctor audio where him and Perry had the conversation about why Perry stayed when he tried to kill her when he first regenerated. And that's so moving. And this is sort of recontextualizing the end of the series. As you say, there's this feeling of abandonment, and Rose is going to end up feeling abandoned by the Doctor because he goes to the station and sends the TARDIS and leaves her there, and then ends to her becoming Bad Wolf. And also, the Doctor says, as you said, that what he feared. He asked himself, would he make the decision again? And he'd say, in the skip of a heartbeat, just the same again. And he will have to make that decision because he has to decide whether or not to kill all the Daleks at the end of this season. So Big Finish is doing this great job of giving us this emotional context for what we already know has come. So that if you were to sort of sit and absorb this as one big nebulous thing, a season with like 12 episodes shoved in the middle of it, I think you would appreciate it so much more.
I don't disagree with that. I definitely don't disagree with that. So it's going to be interesting to see where these series go. Going off, especially if it's like a full season, like Mikey had mentioned earlier. So I'll be very curious to see with that. Any thoughts on this one?
Just a few more. One, I think Mr. Fingers is great as a concept and execution as well. I like the fact that they kind of hint a little bit that he's like maybe like related to the Pantheon. Alien just a little bit by, saying that he comes from out there, in that the end of space or the end of the universe kind of thing. So that seemed like it rang true. I will say my one criticism is that, and it's a minor one, but it's just like when the final thing happens between the Doctor and Mr. Fingers, we just hear a big noise. Kieran said, like, if you're wearing headphones, look out, because it's just this big noise that you're like, what is going on? And it takes like the characters afterwards to be like, oh yeah, when the Doctor did this, and you're like, okay, well, thanks for explaining all that. Thanks.
Thanks for the exposition. We love it.
It's a little clunky, but with audio, you kind of have to do that kind of thing every once in a while. So, if you guys haven't really taken a look to see what the actress who played Brainy Betty, Andy Simmons, looks like, take a look, because she does not look how you think she looks. She does a amazing job at portraying this character, I think, in a way that doesn't feel like just a one note stereotype. I think
it's
she does
called acting.
I think she does a great job, but she looks a lot different than I expected.
Cool. Very, very cool. All right, let's start rating. 1 out of 5 TARDISes for this one. 1 being the worst, 5 being the best. You guys are familiar with it. We mentioned it earlier. All right, Ciarán, you went last time. Go first this time.
4.5. It was, there's just so many themes I really enjoy. I probably would have given it 5 if not for the headphone destroying noise. I do think the soundscape. I do think Howard Carter. No, Howard Carter. No, he does the music. But I do. The sounds can get a bit full on from time to time. But I enjoyed the soundscaping. I enjoyed the story. But yeah, just that little half a point off.
All right. No.
It didn't. I say that luckily it didn't affect me. So yeah, I'm going with a 5, because usually I do grade hard when the sound quality, when they go crazy with different little aspects of in the engineering of the audio. And for me, thankfully, I was wearing my headphones and it didn't hit me, which is weird. So probably a big outlier, but still the story, everything else, absolutely loved it. 5.
Okay, then. Mikey.
Yeah, I'm gonna give it a 4.5 too. Like I said, I'll take a little half point off there, half a TARDIS off, because of the clunkiness of the finale. But and that's just, like I said, really minor. But this is the best. This is not only the best of the two, but I would put this up against some of the best that Big Finish has ever done. I thought this one was really incredible, and I would like anybody who is jonesing for more adventures with the Doctor and Rose, like this should satisfy. This is better than some of their episodes, I think.
Cool. All right, Mary.
I'm going to give it a 4.5. I mean, I'm going to take a half point off for the kind of clunky transitions that happened every once in a while, at least for me. And it just didn't get me in quite the same way as the first one did, but it's still a really good episode. And I will say they are really good at creating a creepy atmosphere.
Hmm.
I mean, there are a couple of almost jump scares in here, which is hard to do in audio. So I definitely appreciated that.
That's good. That is really good. All right. I'm going to do also 4.5. The only reason I'm taking a half point off is that damn noise that they had. Oh, God. Oh, it's just like, ah. And even the dogs were sitting in my office and they were like going, huh? What's that? What's that? And so it's just like, when they get involved with a Big Finish adventure, it's, something. So, yeah, 4.5, I think, but it's a great story, folks. It is a great story. I like both of these, and they're fun. I enjoyed them. I hope you guys did at home too. Please, we want to hear from you guys. Feedback at earthstationwho.com is the best way to get in touch with us. Speaking of getting in touch with us, we got 2 pieces of email. That's right, folks. Just not Peter this time, but Peter is number 1 in our hearts, so he gets to go first.
Hey, Peter.
Peter wrote us about Silver Nemesis, and he said, Silver Nemesis, I agree that this could have easily been 6 episodes, but I doubt it would have been more coherent. My family used to describe Doctor Who as incomprehensible, and I think that they had this story in mind. Agree about the Fourth Reich, but they did at least come from South America, which made some kind of sense. Assassins were a bit much, but even if they were controlled by the Cybermen. How did the Cybermen know about Lady Pennyfort? Ace was the best part of this. Agreed. Who doesn't love a girl with explosives? Peter. Thank you, Peter. All right. Our second piece of email. Someone we haven't heard from in quite some time. It's Bill Lamond.
Wow.
It's been quite some time. And he wrote, Hi, Whovians. I'm at work and I can't look up your names. So this is my raw extreme. I've always loved Silver Nemesis. And when a friend had loaned me his DVD copies, I watched each story all the way through, at least twice. I watched once with the original sound and the info text turned on. Then I watched with subtitles and the commentary tracks. That's how I know the lead Nazi was played by one of the least Nazi people possible. He escaped Nazi Germany because he's gay. I did not know that.
Oh, wow.
That's interesting.
Good to know.
Did you say this enhanced edition of Silver Nemesis is on Blu-ray? Darn, I might have to buy a player before my DVD player dies. Good idea to do that. Did you know if the Blu-ray editions of Doctor Who stories have at least all the extras that were released on the DVD editions?
They do.
I can't understand why they would do extra work of deleting them from the masters. It surely would be lack of storage space. And I have to get back to work. Thanks for always being good company, Bill Lamond. Thank you, Bill.
Thank you.
It's been forever. Thank you for writing us. We do appreciate you. And we would love to hear from you. Like mentioned before, feedback at earthstationwho is the best way to get in touch with us. If you made it this far into the video or the audio, please like and subscribe. We would really appreciate it. And give us a thumbs up. That's always the best way to do it. God, if I do that on Zoom, little thumbs up pops up. It's pretty cool. It's cute. And you know what? Little fireworks now. So it's cute. I love the special effects of Zoom. But yeah, it's pretty awesome. Please, we are here to entertain you. But hey, you know what? We would love to hear from you guys. And, you subscribing and liking is the best way to do that. It makes us really want to come back and do even more. And we are going to be doing even more. So we got a lot of plans coming up to us. If you get a chance, go to our Facebook group. We've got a great Facebook group. We're trying to post news stories, pictures. We've posted pictures of the new, the war between the land and the sea. So, we've got other stuff that's going up there, fan art or just images. We didn't even mention that Tom Baker was out in public, and he actually was at an event, and Louise Jamison was there too. So
He's
it's
got his
actually pretty
MBE.
cool. That is amazing. You know, even doctors could learn. So it's pretty awesome.
Are there? Does anybody know if is Tom can't be the only actor to play the Doctor that's gotten recognized that way, is he?
I believe he is actually. I don't think anyone else has had an
That's
OBE or
amazing.
an MBE. I mean, look, let's face it. David Tennant's is probably not far off.
No, right?
Uh,
Yeah, I would imagine that David will get one,
but then again, he might not accept it because, of course, his best friend is Michael Sheen, who just returned his knighthood. Or was it his MBE? He had an award and he returned it because, of all the nasty things England does to the does to Wales.
Mhm.
Wow.
Interesting.
Wow, wow, wow. But yeah,
Well, it took him long enough. I mean, goodness gracious. Like, I mean, Tom should have been recognized a long time ago.
oh, Tom is a treasure. He truly,
It was nice
truly
to see
is.
Louise there too.
Yes.
Mm.
It was awesome. So yeah, we post all that kind of stuff up on the Facebook group. So definitely join in. We definitely would love to have you. All right, kids, we'll be back soon. And let's thank our crew for being here before we head out. Ciarán, my friend, I really appreciate you being here tonight. And thank you for also having me on your podcast. Week after week
thank you.
after week after week after week.
It's a weird thing. If anyone wants to listen to my podcast, it's called The Sound Of. I interview guests about what music they relate to things. So what is the sound of comfort? What is the sound of tragedy? And then I put all of their answers together. So, it was a lot of work getting it set up. And then, now each guest is up every single week, well, every single fortnight, which makes it a real pain to what's the word I'm looking for?
Editing hell.
It's a real pain to advertise. So,
Yes.
but yes, check it out. And thank you for being on it. I've had such wonderful things people have said about you. So,
Uh-oh. I don't know if that's good.
totally genuine. Totally genuine.
Wonderful things. He's using air quotes there, folks. So it's good. How can people find your show?
They can go into the podcatcher and search The Sound Of, or you go to bio.com/The Sound Of, which will literally give you links to everything you could possibly find. Or you can find me on Instagram, The Sound Of. You can find me on what's the one? You can find me on Blue Sky, The Sound Of. Yeah, just. Or, in the show notes, whatever.
Yeah, exactly. We'll have a link to it, folks. Yeah, it'll be good. Definitely worth listening to, guys. Let's thank our regulars for being here. Of course, Melanie Dean, thank you so much.
Thank you so much. I adore Big Finish, especially getting to visit the Ninth Doctor with all of y'all.
That is awesome. Do you want to promote your stuff?
You can find me on Instagram and any of the other socials at Pieces of Melee.
Definitely find her, folks. She's got some great artwork out there. And of course, Ms. Mary Ogle, thank you.
Oh, thank you. I'm really glad that we listened to these episodes. They were so worth it. I highly recommend them to everyone. Go out to Big Finish and buy them. They're so worth it.
Yep, definitely worth it. And, they're going to be keeping on coming, I think, every other month or so. So it should be cool.
Yeah,
it's like,
great.
Wow, maybe we should start doing the podcast every other month and get Big Finish to sponsor us that way. Yeah, exactly. So who knows? Where can people find your stuff, Mary?
They can find me at maryogle.com. If you're local to the Tallahassee area, I am in the Lemoyne Art Gallery holiday show. You can find me there, or you can find me at Etsy at eVision Arts.
Excellent. And Mr. Mike Gordon, my dear sir, we made it through another one.
We did, and as always, it's my pleasure.
Anything you want to promote, sir?
Just doing my thing with the other podcast, Bat Chums. We're still making our way through the original Batman series from the 60s. We're about midway through the second season, and that's been fun. Drew and I are doing that, as well as we're still going on with the Dragon Con report. So we've got one more episode that we're going to be doing, and there's a new a new podcast coming soon. So keep your feelers out because and pay attention to my social medias because it'll be fan-tiki-tastic. That's all I can say.
In the tiki room, in the tiki. Oh,
Well,
I'm not going to sing to
that's
it.
licensed. That's licensed, Mike. And now you're going
We're
to
in
get
trouble
Disney.
now.
Now
Yeah.
you're going to get
Yeah.
get Disney on our case.
Yeah,
Here's
they
the
are
strike.
very- yeah.
You know, I hope Disney listens to this episode, you know, so they could hear
No.
what we really think about them. So
No, you don't. No, you don't, Mike. You don't.
Thank
No.
you
don't want
for
that.
listening to the final episode of Earth Station.
Yes.
yay, I can retire finally. Yes. Awesome. Well, very cool, folks. You can find me up on, you know, the different podcasts that I work on. You know, you can find Tales from Hollywoodland wherever fine podcasts are found. This last one, we talked about the movie moguls from the 1920s all the way through the early 1950s, where the studio heads were pretty much running everything. It was pretty amazing how Hollywood was set up at that time. So you can find that, like I said, wherever fine podcasts are found. And of course, we have this show and, you know, a couple other projects I'm still working on. And so you will probably find those out in early 2026. So it should be kind of fun with that. On behalf of myself, of course, Mike Faber, Michael Gordon, Melanie Dean, Ciarán Moffatt, and Ms. Mary Ogle, thank you for listening, and we'll see you here next time on Earth Station Who. Alonzi, my friends. Peace and be well. Bye.
You have been listening to Earth Station Who, a pop culture podcast dedicated to all things Doctor Who, featuring talents from throughout space and time. All topics on the show are the sole opinions of the individuals and are to be used for entertainment value alone. You can subscribe to our show wherever fine podcasts are found, or check out our website, earthstationwho.com. Don't forget to check us out on Facebook or Instagram, and if you enjoyed the show, please write to us at feedback@earthstationwho.com. Thank you so much for listening, and we will see you on the next journey of Earth Station Who.
This has been a broadcast of the ESO Network. Be part of the crew and help support our shows by donating to our ESO Patreon or by shopping at the TeePublic store, which can all be found at www.esonetwork.com. The ESO Network, your station for all things geek.